Welcome to another live session with me, Megha Mawandia, on Trio Raising Parents. Today, the topic of conversation, like always, is close to my heart. But today, we're talking about maternal mental health. We're talking about the importance of our emotions and the emotions of mothers who are in the process of having their child, and not only the period of pregnancy, where I know there's a lot of awareness of how important maternal mental health is, but also post-delivery and how it needs to be taken care of. Three of us, Divya Deswal, Himani Dalmia, and me, Megha Mawandia, together are putting together this workshop. And the first one is sold out. There are only a few seats left of the second, which is for all of you who are having a second baby, how to work on this mental health and the emotions of having been through this experience once and preparing yourself for it the second time around, because it doesn't necessarily look different. Hi Panthini, thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to a lot of engagement from all of you who are here. But today's conversation, I have Divya Deswal joining us. Divya, let me just see if she's online yet. Okay, we're gonna wait till she's able to join us. But Divya is a doula and someone who's doing such amazing work in the space of mental health for mothers through their pregnancy and through the first, right after delivery, that period. I sort of feel like she's doing that beginning stretch to hand it over ahead, and it's important work, because along with patriarchy, social conditioning, pressures that we're constantly feeling, there is this invisibility of the work of the mother. There is this invisibility of the emotional labor and physical labor. Because I have so many mothers telling me, oh, but I'm not doing anything. I'm just, sitting at home. It's like you're making a baby inside your body. That takes work. Just because it doesn't look like what our capitalist society recognizes as work doesn't mean it is any less than hard labor. So let me just quickly check what's keeping Divya away, and we should be able to go live with her. Yeah, I've sent her the request. So please do pour in any questions you might have, or even if you would like. There, Divya. Hi, Divya.
Hi.
Good
Sorry.
to see you. Good to
Tech
see you.
issues last minute.
Always there. But that's okay. We're going to plow right on, because Divya has 3 dogs waiting to be fed. And I
Yes.
actually have a swimming pool waiting to be jumped into. So we're going to go deep dive into mental health and then carry on with our own versions of self care that we
Yeah.
have for
Yeah.
ourselves. Right,
Yeah.
Divya?
Yeah. That's right.
Thank you for joining us today.
No,
And
it's my
thank you
pleasure.
for giving importance to this topic of maternal mental health front and center.
Yes.
So, I want to deep dive into the hot topic that you and I spoke about. And I
Yeah.
think once we start off with that, we can talk about the other stuff that we had addressed. And the topic that I want to address is this pressure women feel to be happy
Yeah.
during their pregnancy. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of conversation on the importance of the woman's emotions and feelings to
Yeah.
be connected to the baby's emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
But here's what happens when that conversation goes like that. It becomes about the baby. It
Yeah.
doesn't stay about the mom.
Yeah.
And in this
Yeah.
environment we're in of the pandemic, where there is grief, and to be honest, this is not just in this environment, but this is being highlighted over
Yeah.
here, right? Where there is grief,
Yeah.
there is emotional stress, and then the mothers are feeling guilty, because if I feel like this, I'm damaging
Yeah.
my baby. So,
Yeah.
could you talk a little bit about what that means and how we need to realign that kind of
Yeah.
thinking?
So I want to reframe that first. When we are telling women that they have to be happy so that there's a connection to the baby, that is, we're also in some ways saying that their feelings don't matter and that they don't matter. And that on a very subliminal level feels like dismissive, which is probably a way that we have felt in many ways. And here is a core job that the women's bodies do. They have babies, and even so, we are being dismissed. The second thing I want to say is that this idea of happiness, as if you can cut, copy, and paste it, or just put it as a band aid on you, and then be happy, is a foolish one. Because when you're trying so hard to be happy, the only people who are observing you are outside of you. But the baby is literally marinated in your juices. So there is already grief, there is already stress, and then there is this I am not seen and heard and I don't matter. And then there is this stress of being happy. So you've actually doubled the load on the baby by just putting this pressure on the mother because they're one unit. In fact, if they were to address their feelings, if that were to be acknowledged, if this whole pressure wasn't there, maybe they could ask for help. And imagine what the baby might learn from that life is tough, you matter, your feelings matter, and there is help.
Yes.
And then in Korean perinatal psychology, we have this little thing called differentiation. So
Hmm.
the mother can still be connected to the baby, saying, Mommy is having a really hard time in life because of, and naming it, and you're a pleasure in my life, or I'm sorry I'm not fully available to you, but I love you, you're welcome, I'm excited about you, but I'm carrying these two different loads, and I'm glad you're my companion. How would that mean to the baby as a real person, as opposed to my mother is feeling all these different things and I am another burden she's carrying? If we were to just look at it this way, very simply, whether we look at it as a life skill, whether we look at it as what the baby might experience, and this whole idea of happiness being from outside loaded onto you. We know that when they're not truly happy, the smile reaches their face, but not their eyes.
Hmm.
And eyes are the window to the soul.
They
So
really
who are
are.
we kidding? The baby knows. And you know what interesting research has brought up? Research says that if babies feel their mother's stressed, but their mothers are managing it and it doesn't feel like life and death, the babies thrive in that stress environment because their mothers can find those little windows of peace. And the placenta actually cuts off the stress hormone, saying, This is not my shit, this is not my world. But if the mother feels it personally, and hopelessness of it, like I don't matter, but I have to just be the container of this baby, my life is over because the baby needs to thrive, that's really personal threat. Then the baby feel the placenta's wisdom says, okay, this baby is going to be with a mother who is not fully there, so the baby needs to learn how to deal with stress and opens the floodgates of
The
catecholamines.
cortisol,
Yeah.
catecholamines.
And then the baby's body is constructed with that signaling. So it's more harm than if she felt like a wholesome person going through a bad experience, or I don't matter anymore, this is the end of my life because the only baby is the person who matters. It's a whole different way of looking at the world. So a
That's
little bit of
no,
differentiation.
yeah. And there's so many things that you said over there that I just, if you don't mind, want to just layer off with
Absolutely.
things that I see in my practice. And the first thing that comes up is just Aristotle's words that the human mind, the capacity of the human mind is to be able to balance two opposite thoughts in
Yeah.
equilibrium,
Yeah.
right? And what you're sharing here is the placenta and the womb and this unity of a mother and child right at that moment of genesis.
Yeah.
We're seeing this ability to maintain these two opposing thoughts. One, that there is stress, and two, that you matter and you're
Yeah.
not the stress.
Yeah.
And it's able to decipher and work with it.
Yeah.
So it's so beautifully complex and yet so beautifully integrated.
Yeah.
And something that we see we need to practice continuously in life, the ability to nuance and balance between what seemingly are opposing forces but are not.
But
They're different. They're
yeah.
completely different. I could
Yeah.
be going through all grief and challenge and problems, but that doesn't mean my child is a burden.
Yeah.
And unless I'm going to be able to balance and understand that, my child isn't going to be able to learn to balance and
Yeah.
understand that.
True.
So
True.
that's just phenomenal. And I think the other thing that's really standing out to me in what you're saying is about intelligence. Sorry,
Oh.
the
Yeah.
emotional intelligence of a fetus, the placenta,
Yeah.
right? Because we talk about it, how the limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain, is actually developed, fully developed in utero. And
Yeah.
people look at me and they're like stunned. They're like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? My child can
Yeah.
feel and understand everything. I was like, yes, they can.
Yes.
They
Yes.
don't have the ability to make logic out of it, but they
Yeah.
know how to sift through feelings which are
Yeah.
positive, which are heavy, which are light, which are pulling them down and negative. And we need to trust it. And at the
Yeah.
center of it is what you said, the marination, the mother and child being one, not
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah.
So what looks like this nice smile karo, nahi khush raho, be happy, stop it, you can't cry, you're
Yeah.
not allowed to visit your parents' funeral because you're pregnant, because it
Yeah.
is bad for your child to be
No,
in that
it isn't.
environment. It's
It's not. It's not.
it's
But
again layers of oppression being added in the name of progress, right?
which is the problem? Truly, she is feeling caught, cornered by that. So there is grief, or there is a panic about the pandemic, so to speak. There's isolation. Each of us have touched COVID in some way. And then, I mean, just to take that example, and then there is this whole, now this is another demand from you. And let me put it this way, that the demand is both, as it moves through the body, it takes energy. So that's wasted energy, which she could have given to the growth of her baby. Look at it this way. And as you mentioned, the limbic system, so the baby doesn't understand love as a concept, but it understands the sensations that inform us of love, because that part of the brain is working, and it's called the felt sense. How does my body make sense of being loved? And we have that, it's very strong in all of us. So when we feel happy or joy, we have a sense of expansion. And when we have a negative emotion, we have a sense of constriction. And then if it is too much, we have a sense of collapse. So every child knows when to shrink away. Every cell knows, an amoeba knows when to shrink away from toxicity and how to move towards growth. So as the baby is being born, these different chemicals that it's marinated in makes the cell go this way as a response to what the emotion may have been. So emotion is equal to biochemistry is equal to cell. And then when the baby comes out and the mother shows love, he gets the flood of the same biochemical and the same felt sense response. And then he says, as I look into her
I
eyes, this
remember
is
it.
love. I
Yes.
feel love with every cell of my body. That's what love means.
And that's when the neural connections are getting
Yes,
connected and
yes,
created, and that's when they're making sense of it. But that
yes,
feeling, that
yes,
biochemistry, that's
yes.
there. That
Yeah.
memory is there.
So it's like a database which is referencing in relation to the mother after birth. And so, what is good for the baby should also be good for the mother, because when he looks at the mother and she's smiling versus she's smiling, look at the eyes. He's able to pick up that's not okay. Oh, that doesn't feel right. So, this show of happiness is inauthentic, but I don't know why. I don't know the reason, but it's not true. She's hiding something from me, therefore it's dangerous, or I feel insecure. In fact, expression of authentic emotion and context to the baby, which is the same as differentiation in utero, allows them to feel safe because it is in me. Because you see, babies have only two choices. Either they believe that the parents are totally off, or something is wrong with them, that this is the situation. And which is more controllable? If the parent is off, there's no hope for me. But if it's me, I can do better. And that's setting up their psyche of I'm not good enough, I have to do more. So this inauthentic emotion that we completely carry on with saying, okay, no, you have to pretend, fake it till you make it. Who are you faking it for? Because the baby is reading the biochemistry, the
Right.
cellular movement.
Yes. You
So
can't fake it. So
we are
then,
just
if
repeating
you
it.
can't fake it, then what
You
I'm
don't
hearing
have
you
to be fake
say,
it.
correct. What we need to bring out instead is authentic emotions and allowance of feelings, whatever they may be. So
Correct.
if it is grief, and what about when it is feeling this feeling of insecurity or fear or I I don't know if I'm going to be enough. I don't know if I'm going to be
Now we
able to
need.
do it. How do we differentiate that with the fetal emotions?
I don't think I'm going to do enough. How does that really affect the baby? So how about we say, I don't know if I will do enough or I will be good enough, but I love you.
Yes, I'll try.
No,
Right?
I love you. There's no
That's
trying that.
it. There's no trying.
The feeling is really authentic, but I don't know if I will be able to do everything right away. And the baby says, I don't really care if you don't have matching outfits for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
you're
it.
really crying because you haven't got the nursery ready. I don't care because you love me. And my gaze is only 8 inches. So if I'm in your lap, if you're holding me and I can look at your face and there's love, that's good enough today. And the nursery can take another 3 months because I can't see as far as to see what the wallpaper was like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's okay. Also, I'd say that when you're approaching authentic emotions, why are we afraid to? Because there's really no container, and we need it for two reasons. We need a container that can create a safe space, which is spaciousness. We also need a container that can hold us if it gets too much. And who is that container for you? And it doesn't have to be your partner because they may not have the bandwidth to do it. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it can even sometimes be a stranger, it can be a support group, and it can be a professional. Because each one of these people are human as well. So the brain, the mind, the nervous system seeks another human regulation. There is another person in the world who gets me. I mean, we want to be witnessed, right?
Absolutely. And there
So
are so, sorry.
that's where we are. So no, I
Yeah.
was just going to repeat
And
the same thing.
yeah, no, and there's so many horror stories, and I know this was partly my experience as well. Just the isolation a woman feels in that labor room,
Yeah,
the isolation a woman feels in that period of rest of 40 days where she's feeling under supported, she's feeling overwhelmed. The isolation one feels after that when you're supposed to get back to normal
yeah,
but are not able to.
yeah,
And it's so important to create those containers for the mother. So,
yeah,
through this process of taking care of herself, her child can learn from a
yeah,
very young age in utero
yeah,
to take care of themselves because they're only learning it with you as the prototype.
yeah,
Right? So, if you
yeah.
think you can fake it and show your child but not do it for yourself, there's something that's going to
You're
come
not,
out. And
but
I
you're not
see it in
showing
my
your child. No,
practice
you're
coming
not
out
showing
when
your
you're
child.
30.
Yeah, but you're not
Exactly.
showing your child.
Yeah.
You're saying that you can feel something, but don't show it. That's what you're teaching them, literally. Like I don't have time for your emotions because that's not okay. It's not okay to show authentic emotion. There is no connection that you can share it with. I'm hiding from you. So you better hide it because I'm not interested. And the second thing I wanted to say, like you said, there's no support in labor, there's no support in postpartum. If you look at our rich tradition, there is.
I
There is a
agree.
tradition of support. But what have we done? We have taken the spirit of it and thrown it away and made the container into a cage. You can't
Yes.
eat this. You can't do this. You are supposed to do this. That's not true. The true idea of support postpartum, or the food we eat, or the rest we are supposed to take, or the temperature of the room, or even the water we drink, was supposed to be designed in a way that this wisdom could pass down anecdotally, but ultimately the demand on the woman's body is lowered. So if you're eating freshly cooked, non-spicy food that is easy to digest, then the digestive load on the body goes down. If the body is kept at an equable temperature, not hot, equable temperature, then the body doesn't have to work hard to maintain its temperature. If you drink water which is pleasant and not cold, then your body doesn't have to spend calories to warm it up before absorption. These are the principles. Not now you have to have hot water, you can only eat this, you have to tie up your hair, you have to be in a hot room. That was never our idea. And we have just taken the ritual at a more mechanical level and become rigid. So the container that was to keep her safe has now become a prison, which she resents. And that's yet another layer of a demand from her, and that she doesn't matter because now you have to do this because of ritual. So you're pleasing ritual, and I don't know what ancestor, to the cost of the person who lives today and is nurturing the baby. And that's too
And you're
much.
carrying it down generation to generation in the name of ritual, right? Because that biochemistry is being carried on
Yeah.
and it will keep continuing unless we
Yes.
break that
Yes.
pattern.
Yes. True.
Just to share, I mean, our workshop, which the two workshop series that we're doing, which is specially focused on mothers who are going through their second birth. And I know between my first and my second, and the first time where there were all these rituals, and I had the strict 40-day japa where I wasn't allowed to leave, I wasn't allowed to do so many things and eat right, and just the constant isolation and oppression I felt. And because of the work I was able to do after that, my second time around, where I said, you know what, this is my time to be free,
Yeah.
to be emotionally chilled out, zoned out, and enjoy myself. Where
Yeah.
now I put on the air conditioner because it was May in Delhi,
Yeah.
instead of being told, oh, you can't have AC in the room.
Yeah.
When now I ate what I enjoyed, as opposed to constantly being told, no, you can only eat this because it's
Yeah.
good for the baby.
Yeah.
Because I was able to decipher the difference between the tradition spirit and
Yeah.
the tradition's oppression. And I remember my second period of 40 days being so joyful, so happy, and so amazing. When I
Yeah.
look back at it, I was like, it was the best time
Yeah.
I had.
It was.
While the
It was.
first, I remember just crying for
Yeah.
40
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Every day, just
Yeah.
crying,
That's sad.
crying.
And I mean, I feel really um, compelled to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Okay.
I'm sorry so many women go through that. And because we don't, what it's the same theme, no? She doesn't matter. And yet we know what is good for the baby has to be good for the mother. Otherwise, if we are taking, if you're squeezing the life out of the mother, she has nothing to give the baby. And the baby is truly connected and interdependent on the mother for a very, very long time. So if we truly want to be good for the babies, we must see, because they're the first container of the baby and then we're the container around them. But if we are
Yeah.
eroding the container from the outside in, what is left for the baby?
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much, Divya. And thank you all for joining us and those of you who are watching us. And please go through our links and hope to see you at the workshop. Please do
Yeah.
spread the word. And if you are, it doesn't matter if you're having a baby or not, but all of us as a society are that external container.
Yeah.
So, can we make it each of our responsibility when we meet a pregnant woman, when we meet a young mother, when we meet people who are in that position we have been in, or who you're hearing us talk about, but we can just say, I see you
Yeah.
and
And
I'm
you
here for
matter.
you. No matter.
Yeah. We should say we love you and you
Yes.
matter so that she can say the same to her baby.
Yes.
So we see
Thank
you,
you.
we love you, and you matter.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Divya.
My pleasure.